Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of Thursday, July 25th, 2024, called to order at 1:01 p.m. And I'll go ahead and do roll call. Terry Majewski is here. Andrew Christopher.
Here.
Ricky Riojas.
Here.
Jan Mulder.
Here.
And Savannah McDonald.
Here.
And for the record, Commissioner Joel Ireland is not in attendance, but we do have a quorum of 5. Thank you. The item number 2 is approval of the legal action report / minutes for the meeting of July 11th, 2024. Could I have a motion to approve as submitted, please?
So moved.
That's Andrew. And is there a second?
I'll second. This is Ricky.
Okay, thank you, Ricky. Is there discussion on that LAR / minutes? Okay, if not, I'll call roll. Terry votes aye. Andrew?
Aye.
Ricky?
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Thank you. It's approved 5-0. Item 3 is historic preservation zone review cases. We review these under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9-02.0.0 Historic District Design Guidelines and the revised Secretary of the Interior Standards and Guidelines. Case 3A is 837 North First Avenue. Case number SD 0324-00028. This is for exterior rehabilitation, windows, mechanical equipment, walls. It's a full review in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource, and we look at this in light of the rehabilitation standards. Jody, would you like to give some background on this case, please?
Yes, and my apologies, I forgot to note that this is a code enforcement case, but moving on from that, this project was heard at the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board. I sent out a couple hours ago the draft motions via email, so hopefully you all had a chance to review them. But it was heard on the 16th, and they made a motion to accept the rooftop HVAC unit, mechanical units on the north and west elevations, and the electrical panels as presented. Replace the first story windows with wood or metal clad double hung dual pane windows to mimic the original view of the property. Use stucco for the final treatment of the pop outs on the south and west elevations that does not match the stucco of the original house. That the basement windows to the single light wood or metal clad dual pane awning windows that have functional egress, and that the water heater enclosure to be painted to match the color of the house. Both the applicant's representative, Rick Sertz, and it looks like the property owner's mother, Sonia, is here. I don't know if your son is here, Sonia.
No, he was going to try to make it. He had scheduled to do traveling today, but he was going to try to get in, but apparently he wasn't able to. So I'm here just to observe.
Okay. So Rick, you're going to present. I can make you a co-host so you're able to share your screen.
That's fine.
Okay, so Rick, you should be able to share your screen and just walk. They're new, they are not West University, so you have to just share your screen and walk them through the project.
Sure.
Do you know how to share your screen?
Yep.
Okay. That's a legit question. Sometimes there's
Okay. So we'll start in regards to the property. This property was almost fully renovated other than the electrical work. All new vinyl windows were installed. The air conditioners on the north and east were installed, and the interior was renovated. There was a stop of construction required after code enforcement came by, and we created a submission of this property to match exactly what was actually being put into place. So this is a shot of the subject property as it currently exists. You can see the large tree in the front and the replacement windows. The casement or the awning windows will occur on the north elevation. They do have to be excavated and widened and put in window wells to be able to make sure that we've got proper exit and egress out of that first out of the lower level. This is a shot of the development zone, incorporating the everything coming down to the subject property. This is a 3-story apartment building, church across the street, adjacent residence, which gave a prime example of what an air conditioner would look like. What we'll see in the examples is that we have vinyl windows shown in example A, aluminum windows in example C, aluminum and vinyl in example D, and vinyl windows in example B. And the owner's requested, although he will agree to mitigate if required, he wants to hear whether or not you would be comfortable with leaving the alley windows on this side and the bedroom windows on this side as vinyl, and replacing the west main window, which is the main facing window going into the house, with metal wood clad. The examples are shown. This is on the fraternity house directly to the south of the property, showing vinyl windows. These were replacements and additions that have been put onto the property, obviously not part of the original structure. This is the building. This is the little island building if you go back to the development zone, this is building C right here, example B, which shows all of the windows on all 4 sides are aluminum or vinyl. The 3-story apartment building, this is the alley that is directly to the south of the subject property. All of these windows are installed as aluminum. And the church building across the street and the administrative side of the building, those windows are aluminum as well. So that is the example of what the existing conditions are. The elevations of the property, this showing the west elevation. There is a air conditioner going here. This was recommended for approval by West University. This is the water heater enclosure recommended by West University to be painted to match the house. This is a pop-out addition that was put on subsequently by the previous owner, which included a window which is literally on the property line. So we recognize that window needs to be closed, and that the west elevation and the south elevation of that pop-out would be now, which is now covered in, I don't know, a combination of plywood and T111. It needs to be unskinned and resurfaced, insulated, and properly stuccoed with a stucco material to not match the stucco style of the historic part of the building. Looking at the north elevation, these are the 2 awning style egress windows coming out of the basement or the first level. And the window that the applicant would like you to, and in regards to the window, keeping the windows, he would like to be able to have these stay as in the north elevation and the south elevation. This faces the alley. This faces the parking lot to the north of the property. This is the primary elevation, which is the east, which faces first. And recognizing that this window he'd be comfortable with replacing that metal window or vinyl window with aluminum clad wood to match the profile of the previous the historic window that was there prior to this renovation. In regards to the electrical is located right now in this corner of the south elevation. We're going to be putting in 2 new panels coming in. TEP will be setting and placing 2 new all-in-one meters and panels with risers. This will handle the first floor and the lower level, as this is 2 different addresses, 835 and 837 North First. These are photographs of the in the upper left corner showing the new roof mechanical unit, both in perspective coming from an angle looking to the southwest from the northeast entrance over the north side of the roof. And this is a shot looking straight due south from the north parking lot. Any questions?
As a side note, if you look on Google Street View, you can actually get a fairly good view of the house. I'm gonna stop sharing your. Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Problem?
Let me find that. So you can get a fairly good view. This is from March 22. You can see the double hung windows on the front facade. There's a tripartite window. It's like smaller, bigger, smaller window. And then as you come to the side, wow, you can see the electrical here that he was talking about right there, that they're gonna be relocating down here. Here's the basement windows that we were talking about. This is the siding for the little enclosure that was probably done quite some time ago back here, that they're talking about stuccoing. And then there would be vents, which is behind this fenced area right here, and the water heater enclosure kind of right in this area. But just so you guys can get a better photo, and oh, here now you can see kind of the tripartite window, all double hungs all around, except for the bottom part. I just wanted to let you guys see that before we move on with questions. And I think Jan had questions.
Yeah, I do. I have some questions and some comments, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
I mean, first of all, in terms of the fact that it's a violation, you look at the first photo, it's a violation, or you suspect. I went out to confirm that, but it'd be really nice for us to not have to dig for facts. And along those lines, the church building, the one in the parking lot, the counseling center, which is building C, example B, which is contributing, listed as all windows at this building are, let's see, example B, all windows are either vinyl or aluminum. I mean, that just feels really lazy, because I went out there and as far as I can tell, the windows are wood, old wood, and they were, probably the panes were replaced, and they're kind of pointed with vinyl. And, you know, that's only nominally relative because we've got the West University standards to look to, but it's really, to have to go out and fact check is just not a good situation. In terms of example A, which is also contributing, mentioning their windows that are vinyl, there are 3 of them on the alley. The rest of the windows are not vinyl. They have not been replaced. And I guess the question I have about those and about the roof mounted HVAC on the building to the north, which I didn't have a chance to fact check, which is, were those permitted activities, or are they being relied on by the applicant, and in the case of the HVAC, by the applicant at West University and potentially the city and us as being previously approved as okay. And I really don't know, because normally we wouldn't approve that. It is a new unit, and So that's a question, and I don't know if you, Mr. Sturts, have any idea what the status of those items are that the applicant or you were relying on.
Oh, they have a different roof unit back in 2020.
Which one did?
The one that's to the north. And then they upgraded
To a bigger one.
So,
So usually we would allow that,
yeah, that's the building directly to the north.
yeah. And these guys, what did they have?
They just had. And this one just had that side unit. Jody showed us on old Google. There's nothing.
Yeah, and I guess my last, I guess, comment is just that the prominence of that, just because the neighbor replaced an older one that perhaps was installed back in the day, to install something that prominently located, up on top, just to me isn't consistent with the standards. I agree with West University's recommendations in terms of the windows all being either wood or aluminum clad wood as replacements.
Okay, are those only questions, Jan?
No, that's it. Thank you.
I do have a question. So was there a reason that you decided to move the AC to the top, like, and not keep it anywhere near where the original one it was at, or have it as a ground unit, especially since you do have an alleyway?
There are 2 units on the property. There's one on the that is a direct vent. Again, keep in mind that all of this work was done prior to my getting involved in this project. So the rooftop air conditioner was there, and there is a second unit that services the lower level that's located on the west side of the property at ground level.
The rooftop unit, I'm looking at a picture from 2022, there's no rooftop unit where there's
No,
one that was installed this year.
Yeah, there was never what I could find in my research. I didn't find any conditioning of this house at all. I could not find that there was a swamp cooler or a swamp deck on this property.
Okay.
Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay, Andrew?
No, I don't think I have any questions. Was there the porch pier or up on the east elevation, the northeast corner, is that going to be stripped of that tile cladding and restuccoed?
Was not under consideration, but I would guess so that now that there's going to be a stucco contractor on property, that the client would not have a problem in stripping that and replacing it.
Okay.
It would certainly improve the property as a whole.
Agreed. Yeah.
It definitely recent, yeah.
So, and then just to clarify on the air conditioners, there's going to be one rooftop unit and one ground mounted unit. So there'll be
Yes, there's one roof mounted unit on the north face of the roof, and one ground mounted unit that is behind the screened fence on the west side of the property.
Rick,
Okay,
can you share your elevations again? Sorry, Andrew, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're fine. The
You have to let
rooftop
me share
unit,
screen again.
has the rooftop unit been installed?
It has.
It's taller than the chimney.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen it on the west side probably, but
Well, we're reviewing this as if it hasn't been installed, correct, Jody?
Correct.
Well, definitely, because that's how we review code enforcement cases, otherwise known as zoning violations.
yeah, because it should be screened from view per the guidelines, I believe. So, I mean, I don't know. It's not screened from anything when it's on the roof, period, but maybe on the west side it's less apparent, from the primary elevation.
These are all open trusses, so I'm not sure. I don't think that there'd be any reason that you couldn't reinstall here and then make connections internally to the duct.
Okay. Has the roof, have the roof shingles been replaced, or are you proposing to replace them?
Not to my knowledge, and I do not believe so, though if we've got a second penetration going in, he's gonna have to make a replacement of the roof material, at least on the north side.
Yeah.
But it would have to be, my guess is that he'd have to re-roof the house.
My other question on the two pop outs, the one that is on the west elevation. Let me see. Yeah, that one. It looks like it's essentially a raised porch that was framed in. And I'd imagine the other pop out is probably the same situation. So
Yeah, we found that there was a rickety stair that was located here. If you look at the photos that Jody had put up, all of that has to be stripped down to new, making sure that we've got the appropriate footings underneath there. We don't know what that's going to be until it gets stripped.
Okay. So to what extent are you guys rebuilding that, do you think?
My guess is that we'll take off all the existing material, find out how that thing is put together, and make any remedial work that needs to be done to make it structurally sound.
Okay, and then you probably have to do some sort of new footing under that?
Potentially, again, not knowing how it was put together.
Okay. My only concern
That's gonna be
there would
something that I'll
on-
work out with the
Okay.
after we get this removed, we'll have to do some investigatory work and leave that as a caveat for the building department.
Okay. What I'm getting at here is the ground condition and how it meets the ground. The whole house is on a stem wall, and so this would be a deviation from that potentially, unless you decided to go back with a stem wall. So I think we would need more detailed information on the base of both of those architecturally to really make a call, but maybe that can come back for a minor review once you do figure it out.
I had felt that this needed to be, whatever the material was, needed to be a finish with on its own rather than trying to replicate the stone base. It needs to have some sort of a base transition here. But it wanted to be a stucco of its own and a element on its own, rather than trying to mimic what was historically there. But I'm more than happy to take comments and recommendations.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Go ahead.
Do you know when the addition was built at all? Like how old this fenced porch is or closed?
It's in the level of decay that it's in. It has to have been there for years. I have no clue when it was built. There was no way to source it that I was able to find.
Okay. Andrew, do you have other questions?
Yes, it doesn't look like any of the exterior doors, you're not proposing to replace any of them, correct?
No. Correct.
Okay.
In fact, this door in the east elevation, the bottom left corner, this is a door that was an access door that was there, that's been screwed shut and walled off in the interior. So we're leaving that aesthetically to be there, but it has zero function. On the north elevation, that door is the main entry door going into the living space.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Are we ready for Savannah's questions?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it sounds like we're all on the same page that we can't approve it as presented. I guess I'm just curious about the next steps. I mean, we'll need to see revised elevations, and I don't think we've seen a site plan, right? We're talking about context of property line and things like that and additions. I think we'll need a plan.
That's right.
So
I thought of another question.
Go ahead.
So this, when we're looking at the 2022 picture, there's this ramp that was put in that's metal. That elevation now shows that there's stairs there. Were the stairs under the ramp or are you rebuilding the stairs?
The stairs are concrete stairs and they were there.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't see the plans before. Those weren't posted to us, were they?
It's just the elevation plans. That's all.
Sorry, I meant floor plans. We didn't get a site plan or floor plan. Okay, so this we haven't seen this before. You were
Seen that.
talking about so can you explain the additions on here? You said one was near the property line.
It is that little pop out right there. Okay, going on the west side of the property, and this to the south side of the property.
Okay, and those are proposed new additions?
No, those
To
have
kind
been
of-
there for years. And what we're talking
Okay.
about doing is, because they're usable interior space, we want to take off the existing material, which is T111 and plywood and decaying material, and restructure as required, and then stucco that in a stucco finish that is complementary but dissimilar from the historic structure.
Okay. And that's as shown on the elevations you gave to us as a
Yes.
dissimilar stucco finish. But the elevations that we see are still like show sliders and stuff like that, not the.
It does, and in regards to an approval and a process, we'd be willing to stipulate that all the windows, and I just checked with the owner. He said that he would be willing to replace all of the windows, including the awning style windows, and to meet all of the requirements as outlined and approved by the West University neighborhood historic folks, which would mean to put in metal clad wood windows as a replacement is a stipulation to the submission, and that they would be double hung on the north and the south elevations, and the tri window on the east elevation would also be. He believes that the center window, even though the image that you showed, Jody, showed that the center window, the large window, was a double hung. His memory is that center window was a fixed glass.
Yeah, I
with
think
double-
it has a center muntin, but it doesn't look like it's an
Okay.
operable one. The two side ones are
with
the-
double hungs on the north and the south side of that main window. So
Right.
he would stipulate that to be able to move his project forward.
Mr. Sturts, I wanted to point out that West University, their recommendations and our recommendations are totally separate things. We are not beholden. We like to know what they are, but we make our own recommendations. Both sets of recommendations go to the planning director, who makes the decision. So whatever. So plans review members, you're not required to accept the West University's recommendations. We'll make our own recommendations, and they may be the same or they may be different.
Yeah,
Okay?
thanks for that, Tara. Yeah, I was just looking at that. They do mention the double hung windows, but they don't mention that kind of extra detailing of that front window that we might want to make a little more explicit, since it is kind of a nice characteristic of that.
Well, in terms of now we've had our questions and discussion. Do we want to start outlining what a motion might look like, as if we were reviewing this case without it being a zoning violation?
I don't think if that HVAC system came through that I would approve that where that's at.
I agree with that.
It's
I like
chimney street view.
Yeah.
We could probably live with it on the west, like Andrew suggested. Yeah.
Jody, have they gone through a DDO on this, or I assume they're going to need to for those setback encroachments?
They don't. I mean, if you mean on the rear porch and that little side pop out that they want to re-stucco go through the DDO? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, do they have to go through a DDO?
No, if you approve, I mean, it's an existing, it's grandfathered in, but if you approve them as it is, that would preempt them going through the DDO process. I mean, they would have to be fire rated because, and that stucco would fire rate it, I guess, because it's on the property line. Or slightly over it.
Yeah,
So whether we approve it or not, they don't have to go through a DDO or get any sort of zoning.
If you approve it, but I question whether they would have to go through a DDO anyways, because it's already a built element. And if they can show that that was permitted, then they should be in the clear from that.
I guess that's the question with some of this, whether it was the older stuff, whether it was permitted.
Yeah, I mean,
have to dig around for those two pop outs like that. Those have been there for a while.
Yeah.
Not since 47, not since 49, so they were put in after that, but I don't have my older Sanborn maps.
I have a question about the property line, because it seems like, well, it's been there for a long time, and it's over the property line, and I'd be inclined to say, yeah, that's the way it is, but I recall there was a house in Armory Park where their eaves were over the property line, and they were told initially, I don't know how it ended up, that they were gonna have to shave the eave. I'm not talking about one on 4th, I'm talking about one on 14th.
They didn't have to shave the eave, but they had to make it fire rated,
Yeah, okay.
the curtain,
The ones that are by the
Luger,
Luger property.
honey, and whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
They had to make it fire rated.
Okay, so that was my question about the property, and I guess in this case, they're just on an alley.
So I mean, so if you approve it, back to you, Andrew, if you approve it with the stucco, then that's how it would go forward. It would be not up to this group to determine the property line, whether or not it can go past the property line. That would be part of a discussion that zoning would have with them, if that's the case, and they would be the ones to make that determination. If they ultimately have to come back to reduce it and shave off some of it, I would expect that it would come back for review. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And yeah, I understand we're not looking at zoning here. I'm just wondering, how much effort to put into, reviewing and approving that if it's, if there's other factors at play. But
Well, to the other point you brought up, Andrew, about the structural part, I mean, do we have to even worry about that? They're gonna tear it apart and put it back together, but somebody's gonna make sure it's up to code, so. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would expect if they. I mean, I'm not the definitive answer on this, but I would expect if they tear that off to reconstruct, they might not be able to reconstruct in the same footprint because of, but if they just apply a stucco on the exterior, that's different than tearing it off. If you tear it off, the setbacks, the property line, all that comes into play, and they may not be able to build it again unless they go back through the review process.
Well, you guys don't know what's under there, right? For that side step out, not the back one looks really bad, but the side one in the alleyway, you guys don't know what it's like underneath that siding?
No, for the purposes of our application, we made the assumption that what's underneath it is satisfactory to just be resurfaced, insulated, and stuccoed. But until such time as we'll do the discovery, the general contractor will do the discovery once the release is done. We can't right now because there's a property's been red tagged. We couldn't touch it to even find out at this point.
I wonder if we couldn't handle that possibly a minor review, like maybe as like a follow-up to make sure whatever we decide on here gets is the best approach.
yeah, I think that makes sense to kick these two pop outs to a minor review. And then once you guys have a better idea of, your repair strategy on them, that may give city a better idea of, you know, what level of zoning review is required on those.
That's not normally something we do for a minor review, because you're talking about more of.
Yeah.
It could be a bigger thing of like reconstruction, which isn't something that we do as a minor review. I mean, if it's just like.
I think it's, I meant more
Stucco,
like,
if we're gonna
more like-
stucco it, that's a minor, I could see that as a minor review. I'm concerned that like, if it has to get rebuilt, that's not a minor review.
I guess I meant like more along the lines of if the assumptions that have been presented thus far are correct, that it's structurally stable and we can just stucco it, then we say one thing, but you know, that is pending maybe further evaluation. Or new information that comes out during demolition could be a minor review. I don't know, just trying to find a path forward that makes sense.
I think that makes sense.
So maybe it's just. Well, one, be really careful how it's worded, but maybe if you move forward with a motion, it would be something along the lines of. Pending, like you said, pending further evaluation. The project could come back for either a full or a minor review.
Yeah, because it sounds like what he's saying is they're not inclined to figure out what's going on until they have a permit.
They can't.
They can't.
Oh, we
Yeah.
can't.
They can't get
It's
in
not that
there.
we're not inclined. We'd love to, but we can't.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
anyway, do you have some ideas on a motion that we could, you could outline, Savannah, we could discuss it? Or add to it, because we need to move forward. We have many cases today.
Oh,
Yeah, sure, let's go. I mean, if it's okay, maybe start with West Universities and see what we agree with or don't.
I do have a comment. That is contrary to you, Savannah. On the tripartite window, because it does have that meeting rail, I think that was a double hung window.
In the middle?
Yeah, in the middle.
Doesn't have the relief that double hung.
Yeah, it looked different to me. I
I'm
still
s-
saw the reveal, but it looked different to me. I don't know. Either way.
I'm seeing a relief. I mean, the one in the foreground is in the foreground, so, and this one has a screen on it. So the middle one, when you look at it, has a screen on it. And the end one actually has a
Oh,
screen too.
it could be the screen that's
Yeah,
confusing me because I don't see the lip of the sliding panel, but yeah, it's very possible. Does the owner know if that was?
I don't think that the owner is, I mean, based on what Rick was saying, he doesn't think so, but it sounds like he's not 100%.
No, he's not.
I don't know. What do we want to behold them to? I mean, I guess I'm fine either way. If that panel makes sense as operable, all three panels, or if that one's fixed, the other two are operable. I mean, we've in terms of precedent have approved things that from the outside look the same, but operability, there's a little bit of variation compared to what was original, and we've made some leeway there as practical as logical. So
So
do you guys
just so I'm clear on we're talking about the large window on the east elevation and whether the center window is operable or not.
Right.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, I think it's operable because why would you put a screen on it if it wasn't?
Oh, well, there's that.
Well.
Well, if you want
Wow.
to.
Sorry.
So I do have one question while you're forming this motion. What are your thoughts on single hung versus double hung?
I think single hung actually happens a fair amount, even though we call it double hung, because that's what we're used to speaking about.
Yeah, I have a motion drafted where I'd call it single or double, so I think stylistically I don't care.
Right, single is it'll be much less bite to come out of his pocket than double.
Okay, so for Savannah, for the windows, we're thinking all windows should be wood or aluminum clad wood and shall match the original single or double hung configurations. And then do we want to add additional language for that front window?
Maybe just that it's in the 3-part to match original. And if we want to, if all 3 should be operable, we should say that. That's fine with me.
Okay. What else?
Are those there's probably you know, everything about that was removed, right, already?
Yeah,
And the
Everything is
replacement-
gone.
oh. Is the trim?
All the trim is all gone, yes,
It is,
inside
okay.
and out. But and I don't believe that they touched the sills.
I thought I saw in some photo that was presented that maybe the trim was still there in some pieces. I mean, just if that's the case, we'd want to keep what we can, right?
Mhm.
Yes. And you can add that as a stipulation, that if existing trim is there, it's maintained or replaced to match.
These are all like concrete or masonry sills? Those are
Yes,
some of them.
they're
have
concrete
that.
sills. Yep.
Oh, it looks like the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to think to the point that either, I think Savannah made at the beginning, maybe Andrew too, that, I mean, there's a lot of details that aren't included in the plans, and it would just be simpler to have everything just come back and be done with it. In terms of the plan and, you know, detailing of what's being replaced. And we're trying to cobble together a motion that doesn't miss what's been done and what's intended, what's overlooked.
Well, for example, there was not an intention of replacing the tile on the post.
Right,
Okay. There was, the sills are intact. In this case, the wood frame, this is on the north elevation, is intact, and they inset the vinyl window into the existing frame. Likewise on bedroom number 2. So this is, Andrew, you were asking before about this ramp. That ramp, I believe that ramp was gone when this owner bought it, but I have no knowledge. But this is the existing stoop and the existing steps going in.
Did you, are you looking at a different photo? Cause we're still seeing the elevations.
Oh, I brought this photo up. Are you not seeing it?
Yeah, I think you have to unshare and share again.
Okay.
Sorry.
Looks like that tile was the tile on the front, what is that, northeast, got put on in 2008.
It's been there for a while.
This
Yeah.
tile? Okay. Again, this owner bought this property in 2023. So what I was describing was that the sills are intact. The sills on the original structure are intact. The original wood window jamb is still there, it appears to be. So to do this nice and clean, we'd want to take out this entire opening and put in new aluminum clad wood windows.
Which one's the opening that you were talking about having to be widened to meet code?
it's the base.
These right here. These two windows down below, these are in the lower level has been an occupied space for many years. And when we looked at this, obviously this did not meet egress code. These are going to have window wells installed and new windows put in, which would be awning style for be able to allow for appropriate egress.
And do you have a better photo of the front window that we were talking about? Cause it looks like the new window that got installed is not the same proportionally to the old one. Like the two
Right.
side windows next to the center one look wider than they did before.
Let's see. Boy, it's hard to tell.
Are you stuccoing everything where that it looks like there was maybe an enclosed porch on the right-hand side of this image? It's probably a mirror image of the front porch.
Back to that. You're not keeping up with my screens, are you?
No.
Sorry. This is the
Okay.
north elevation I'm referencing.
Stand by. Okay. So this space,
Yeah, it's all some sort of wood siding, and I'd
it's a
imagine-
variety of wood sidings and wood materials. There is some
So-
stucco. This is a stucco panel, and then this is a bead board and a bead board, and I'm not exactly sure what the rest of the materials are, but yes, it would have to. My feeling is, and this would be a recommendation to the owner, would be to continue to stucco on this side and on the opposite side, continuing all the way. But again, this was not a consideration at the application level.
Hey, Rick, I
That
had a
win-
question,
Should,
about the awning windows in the basement level. As I think
Uh-huh.
about that, if you do a window well and you do an awning window down there, is that actually gonna function like it's supposed to? Like you're pushing your awning window out and you're going into
It's gonna be
the.
a big well.
You're
It's a big
going-
well.
Oh, but you're gonna have a
It's
block.
gonna have to be wide enough for it to flip all the way up.
Yeah, I'm just curious about that.
yeah,
On
the windows that
opposite.
the windows that we had
The vinyl windows don't work, cause that's no egress at all. But if you have come out in your window well and your awning window is like this, the awning ends up blocking you from getting out of your window well. Does, you guys understand what I'm saying, right?
A really big well.
I do. I think there's a
Okay.
minimum clear height for lower level egress and IRC as well, but that's not.
There is.
purview, but yeah.
and the wells are we've dealt with this issue already with the making sure that it met requirements. Oh, sorry. And the window wells at these awning levels are wide enough and create enough width of the 5.7 minimum square feet of access. And the window wells are large corrugated dugouts, so to speak, to be able to access, and it works.
Okay,
You just need those 180-degree hinges, so you can
Yes,
swing
we
it
need
fully
180
clear.
degree hinges. They can't be the
so it goes all the way up,
yeah, they
okay,
can't be the 135s, right?
that would be a horrible way to die, that you couldn't get out because of the awning.
Okay, where are we then with, are we still going through the West University recommendations, or are we beyond that now?
I think Andrew is drafting a motion, which is excellent, but I just wanted to go back to what Jan stated. I mean, it's going to be a long motion full of lots of things, and where's the threshold of,
Like,
just
stuccoing where it's not stucco that they didn't plan on dealing with the. I mean, it's just, it would be desirable to have something come in and say, here's the existing case, here's what we're proposing. And then it would be clear, oh, well, we think you should also stucco here, even if you would rather not, or whatever, so that we could have a meaningful application to review.
If we
And-
don't approve it, is there still a way to like formally send our comments to him for it so that he can address everything?
I mean, we could continue it, we either approve, deny, or continue.
But what would be the point of continuing it?
I think for them to really show what they are planning to do, because as we're discussing, you know, things, we're asking about things and Rick's saying, well, we didn't think we were gonna, you know, that wasn't part of the proposal, but we could, so then we have to figure out how much of it is, you know, beadboard, T111, blah, 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 and try and cobble together a motion that covers everything. And it just feels like it's inadequate. There's not, you know, if we were reviewing this initially, I think we'd probably say at first, you know, we'd like to see the HVAC on the ground, show us, and then if that's not possible, the person could come back and say, well, here's a place where it's better, you know, we have to have it on the roof, here's where it's less visible. But it just feels incomplete. If there's a site constraint reason that it's not on the ground, then they could show us that, but right now we don't have information to even say that's the case. Can't tell what's either. What's on top of the porch cap? Is that more tile or?
It's like a handrail here.
Well, that's
More tile.
yeah, you can see what, yeah, so it's like we have to guess and hope we've covered stuff.
Well, the tile's been there,
Since 2000.
yeah, so
Yeah.
the tile for quite some time, and that's not. I mean, I guess,
So the handrail, the porch cap, the wall cap, the beadboard on the back of the property that was sometime in its history enclosed, there's not a contemplation, and we didn't make a request to do that. What I was suggesting is that in the spirit of improving this property in this conversation, that would be a consideration to be able to propose to the owner, but that's not something that we're proposing. We're not touching this space at all, other than the fact that there's a vinyl window in currently, which should have been an aluminum over wood or a wood window in a single or double hung. So we're not proposing to pull this tile. We're not proposing to pull the cap. So when you're saying that we are willing to do things, these are only out of the willingness of our dialogue, not in the desire to increase our scope, our time, or our expense.
That
I
would be a question.
understand that, Rick, but there are inconsistencies in the elevations, like the tiled portions are shown as stucco. There's wood siding portions that are shown as stucco. So it's, you know, there's things up to interpretation there on what you're actually proposing, or there's, you know, maybe.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I think what we need to do to move forward is, you know, is deal with the things that are called out really in the zoning violation, and then say that any other changes need to come back through, because there are changes that aren't on the plans, or we've made comments before about making sure the plans are correct and consistent. You know, so I think we can't let ourselves get flummoxed because this is sort of a backwards case. You know, because we wouldn't have this if we were reviewing the whole project and it wasn't done yet, correct? We'd have less of a problem with this.
And we would have approached this from coming to you first, but we were instructed to actually prepare a full set of construction drawings, go through the entire submission process, getting those plans all the way to the point of approval pending your approval, which generally I would have flipped this and gone in the opposite direction, met with you folks first.
Talking about you, I'm just talking about we're in this situation, and this happens frequently when it's just the way these reviews are structured. And so we've got to make recommendations as if we were reviewing it from the beginning, but we don't really have the same leeway. So I think we need to make some sort of motion and move forward.
So Terry, then we don't make a comment on the stucco on the north side of the elevation, only on that west side where if it's structurally stable, they'll stucco over it. Because even though the north building elevation shows it as stucco, it's technically not in this project.
I mean, that's the part of the conundrum, Carrie, is the plans don't even reflect what's there, and then we're hearing mixed things about what they might do for points of discussion or agreement, but we're planning to do, but the plans don't even align with what's there. And
Well, I mean, Jody, can we continue till the plans are fixed to reflect?
Yeah, there's no reason that you can't not continue. Or whatever. Yes, you can continue.
And then we can say continue the case and have them come back with X, Y, and Z fixed.
Correct. I would make sure that Rick is aware of what he needs to address on the plans.
Well, I think once we make the motion, we can field any questions we have from him.
I would put it in your motion. I mean, you probably want to be clear in your motion. So then it's on record of what he needs to correct on the plan.
No, we would do that. We would do that. But, you know, not just to continue the case. So is anyone out there on plans review willing to say what they would like fixed on these plans so that we can continue the case and have them fix it and come back?
Yeah, I have a motion drafted. I don't know if anyone else did.
You want to just, no, why don't you go ahead and read through it before it's formal?
Sorry, it cut out.
Do you want to just, or do you want, how do you want to handle it, folks? You want to hear what he's thinking about, that he's going to
Yeah.
mention?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the motion would read, all windows shall be wood or aluminum clad wood and shall match the original single or double hung configurations, except for the basement windows, which shall be an awning style with window wells. The front east window shall be composed of 3 operable windows molded together to match the original configuration and proportion. All existing concrete sills shall remain. The rooftop air conditioner shall be moved to the west side of the roof, and the roof shingles shall be repaired to match. The treatment of the 2 pop-outs shall be brought back for minor or full review as applicable once an investigation is conducted and a repair strategy is developed. The tile on the front pier and walls shall be removed, and the existing stucco shall be repaired. The wood siding on the enclosed northwest porch shall be replaced with stucco as shown.
Okay, everyone, does this answer your questions, or do you still want to continue with revisions of the plans?
answered my questions.
I mean,
That one does just say stucco the beadboard, which, I mean, then, then would make the elevations accurate.
Yeah.
And removing the tile, right,
Yeah,
Yes.
on the column?
Yeah.
But is this something that, I mean, as stated previously by Rick, that maybe they can't do all that work?
Yeah,
No,
I don't
I mean,
think
if the
that's proposed. So
if the question was that this was going to be approved as noted, with the exception of, or the addition of the stuccoing of the beadboard on the northwest side, and we could move this project forward, then yes, I think that this is acceptable. Meets with the criteria that the owner has given me the okay to proceed with.
Was that your question, Savannah?
Yeah, I was worried we were proposing things out of scope, but
No,
I 100%.
I was gonna say the only thing that will come as a surprise is moving the air conditioner, and I understand that these are 2 separate bodies and they were reviewed separately. I was not at the West University neighborhood meeting. There was, but I did watch the video, the video of the meeting, and there was sufficient discussion at that meeting regarding the neighbor to the north, and how it reads from the First Avenue view, and it's not dissimilar in how this would read. So aesthetically, so that's the only piece that's going to be a surprise. I
Oh,
think the
because-
rest of it would be.
We don't know if the planning director will take whose recommendation they will take or make up their own. So
I
we
understand that completely.
better. So
What-
we really need
what
to
if-
stop discussing these fine points and rubbing on. So,
Okay.
were you gonna
What-
say something, Jody?
I'm sorry?
Were you going to make a comment?
No, I think that was already addressed.
Okay, okay. Who was that, Andrew?
Yeah, should we just say that all exterior wood siding shall be brought back for minor review once a treatment plan is established or something like that? Just like we're doing with pop-outs?
Well, right now, aren't you continuing it? So that would be something.
Andrew's writing it as a motion.
Oh, you're.
Yeah.
Approval
Yeah.
with,
Yeah,
I think it's descriptive enough that we can approve it and then, because I feel like we're all on the same page. We just want to see the plans updated. We want to see, just double check those things we're unsure of. That's why I'm wondering if like minor review or relying on staff to follow up might make the most sense.
Well, we could put both of those things in there and then see how changed it is. So I think we should go with this motion. And then Andrew, if you have this typed up, please email that to me, Michael and Jody, because this is a big one. We don't want it to be misconstrued from in the LAR.
yep. Okay, all right, I'll go ahead with the motion for approval
Please.
with conditions then. All right. All right, on the matter of item 3A, 835 and 837 North First Avenue, SD 0324000028, I move to approve the plans with the following conditions. All windows shall be wood or aluminum clad wood and shall match the original single or double hung configurations, except for the basement windows, which shall be an awning style with window wells. The front east window shall be composed of 3 operable windows molded together to match the original configuration and proportion. All existing concrete sills shall remain. The rooftop air conditioner shall be moved to the west side of the roof, and the roof shingles shall be repaired to match. The treatment of all wood siding portions of the building shall be brought back for minor or full review as applicable once an investigation is conducted and a repair strategy is developed. The tile on the front pier and walls shall be removed and the existing stucco shall be repaired.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there discussion of the motion? Nice job, Amanda.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call the vote. Terry votes aye. Jan,
Aye.
Ricky,
I,
Andrew,
Aye.
Savannah. Savannah?
Aye.
Oh, okay. So that's 5-0, correct? Okay, so Rick, do you have any questions?
My only question would be if the staff could handle the review rather than it coming back for a minor.
minor review consists of one of us, one of the neighborhood review, and a staff member.
Got it.
All at once.
What I need to know.
And they're all
Perfect.
at the same time, we're all in a meeting together.
Thank you, Ricky.
Okay, so do you have any other questions, Rick? Or
No, I appreciate your time and counsel today.
Okay, thanks a lot. We appreciate your ideas too. Thanks. All right,
Well,
let's move on to item 3B, which is 812 East Speedway Boulevard, SD 0624-00061, new construction. This is a courtesy review in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource, and we're looking at it per the rehabilitation standards. Jody, could we have some background, please?
Sure, this also was heard at the July 16th West University Historic Zone Advisory Board meeting. Is a courtesy review. Main comments from the board were that the mass of the building behind the existing bungalows is making the historic bungalows look fake or even silly. No real attempt has been made to consider making them look to be part of the design. Also, there was a discussion on window material, drawing indicated vinyl, but said fiberglass was being considered. Material and rationale for its suitability should be discussed in formal review. And since it was a courtesy review, there was no motion made. Noel is here to, everybody knows Noel, he's here a lot, to present. Are you gonna be the one sharing your screen?
Yeah, I'll do that, and then got Roger and Jason here as well. If there's any specific questions, appreciate everybody's time today as always. And I'll try to be concise. I can get my computer to be cooperative. Ready, let's try to figure it out. We have to do this, in theory, should work. Should be able to check this. And there it is. All right. Again, Bill Brimson with Snell & Warner in Phoenix. Basically, this is kind of the second part of the capstone project. Obviously, you're all familiar with the move. If you turn by the site, you should see some excitement as they're trying to load those things up. Not to ruin our luck, but knock on synthetic wood that everything has been going well with that process. Hopefully, we'll get those things moving here shortly. So the second part, obviously, is putting something on the site, which brings us here today for the courtesy review. And really just wanted to walk you through kind of our initial application and kind of discuss your thoughts and suggestions so that we can, and like I said, I've got my design team listening in, so that we can incorporate additional materials and information as well as any suggestions, or at least answer any questions you have. So and I'm just going to kind of go through this fairly quickly because some of it's kind of a paperwork piece, but I do want to kind of show everything collectively. So obviously working from the checklist as we move along, a design narrative that kind of touches on the various criteria. This includes sort of two elements, one obviously being the design review checklist and those items, and happy to dig into these a little more if you like, but generally kind of a first run at addressing some of those criteria questions that were considered during the design work. And then obviously some of the new construction items related to this obviously being a little unique in that it's a full new build with some historic structure being retained, so a little unusual there. And then there's a portion that also addresses the design guides for UOD, which is your guys' thing, but that is also in there as well. So it's a collective one document there. I had to go back to that with any specific questions. And then that leads into, once again, there's a lot of text here. That gets us into, obviously we know the site, and these were the checklists that we were utilizing for that framework. And then obviously some of the surrounding context, which has been kind of an interesting challenge for us, obviously given trying to put something that meets making overlay standards up against Western University. So we're working on trying to find ways to balance details, and I'll show you a little bit of what the design team's done in that, and it's been kind of contemplated as we go through. Again, we're all familiar with the sites. Let's get that stuff. So I've got the technical drawings in here, and then I'll move into some renders, and then we can get back to these if there's any questions. But basically, as the building's laid out, it's similar to what we did through the entitlement process. Basically, the two homes that are, I'm not sure what it is, the two retained historic homes are kind of living in this portion of the site here in the southwest quarter, front of Euclid. And a little hard to tell here, but I'll show you in the details a little further down. But the idea was to kind of play off the frontage of those homes. So we have the townhouses. The detailing on those are designed to be 2 stories. And so those elements there kind of play off of the 2 homes as far as kind of that roof line element, as far as height goes. And then as far as kind of setback and streetscape experience, try to retain something that kind of plays off the porches on those homes. And then you can see as the rest of the building footprint here, so these are the townhome units here along Euclid, and then it steps back as it gets a little bit more of a we call it kind of a commercial feel as it goes around the corner. The Speedway is supposed to feel more commercial, so the character kind of changes as you go around there. And then we have the parking garage, which is actually now we actually go a little bit low grade as well, so we were able to do a little bit more with the layout of the units as we got into the weeds. But again, this design gets you a total of 183 units, which is about 525 beds total, and represents 147 parking spaces. We also have our 30 workforce units are part of that total. Got all the data sheets, which are very exciting. This starts to get a little bit more into, you start to see some of the hardscape improvements related to our civil plan. So the civil plan and the landscape plan all kind of play together. But again, it's a more formalized streetscape here, a little more of an urbanized feel that meets the main gate criteria as far as wider sidewalks, trees, streetscape planners, things of that nature. Detached sidewalk, obviously, enhancing the corner with a larger apron there, so folks are waiting for lights, things of that nature that the main gate calls for. And then you can see our houses right there on that. These are the upper floors, if there's any interest in that. Again, basement, grade, and then up from there, and the building doing all the step back and things. I think what's most important here is the relationship, and I think the one comment Jody mentioned was, as the building, it's kind of easy here. So this is the kind of grade level. Those two houses are kind of sitting here in this void. When you get to the second floor, the building does pull back at that second floor level. So it's a little hard to see in the renders, but kind of picturing there's sort of a void in the building, which kind of is designed to separate those two masses and create some visual interest in that area. As the building moves up, then up to the fourth floor, you can see that's all that void there. So that void is intended to kind of open up behind the building. So a little bit more detail on the streetscape plan. Again, these are all trees, tree grades, and planters. Let's see, details on parking. If you're interested in parking spaces, I love talking parking spaces. Underground retention, again, just for everybody's more just information, but we have all underground retention. That was an issue during the entitlement process. So I think we'll manage a lot of our stormwater and are actually accommodating the alleyway as well, improve some historic drainage challenges. That should be improved by this. And these are photos of the houses, which I think everybody recalls seeing. These are all the various houses out there, and these are our two retainers. So we got 1024 and 1030. And I believe 1030 is the twin to the next one up. So it's kind of interesting having moving one of the twins over, so we'll have two in the neighborhood. A bit of discussion about the color. We're not married to colors, so suggestions. Happy to talk colors. And again, kind of just surrounding context, and got some notes here because we've been updating this as we go along. But again, some of our challenges trying to pull some of these elements into a modern building is kind of interesting. I think we've got a few different ideas. These are elevations of homes that are on the site currently, which is a checklist requirement, but they are, as you can tell, rapidly leaving the site. And then we get to the fun stuff, where I've got kind of my flat elevations. Start with those guys. So this is our west elevation, looking from Euclid towards the east. And so the two historic retainer homes are here. I noticed in our render it's less blue, so I guess we're already playing with color. Good job, Jason. This is that void I was mentioning. So part of that, again, it's kind of hard to see in the renders, but there's a very purposeful void there in the building. And the idea to kind of break that up, so it was sort of, that element's kind of supposed to read a little different than the rest of the element as the building steps back from Euclid. Those are the townhomes here, certainly on those. And then you can see it gets a little bit more of a commercial kind of frontage, even though it's residential. The idea is to have that feel a little bit more like you're transitioning on the Speedway. So as you come down, you're heading to the south on Euclid, feels a little commercial, gets a little modern townhousey, and then transitions into the historic structures, and then you can see the Udall Center or south of us. This is looking at from Speedway at the north elevation. Again, more of an urban appearance to that to kind of tie into what's going on with the hub to our east. And then that is the rear elevation. So if you're in the alley, always an exciting view, but again, four-sided architecture to bring it all the way around. What I like about this image is it kind of shows you some of the slope challenges we're dealing with here. The site does have a bit of fall to it, which always makes things a little bit challenging. But here you can see kind of a primary entrance, and we have a drop off pickup zone up here that's on property to keep folks out of the alleyway. Again, backside, it kind of plays off what's going on to the east. And then this would be the south view. So again, same kind of idea of something that kind of ties into the modern buildings to the east and then transitioning as it heads to the west. And you can see here, it illustrates some sections, but again, the idea of those houses was kind of mirror up with the townhouse. So that's the townhouse, the townhouse detail. These are porches there. And let's see here. So then we got development zone map, very exciting here. And then renderings. So that all those flat elevations start turning into this, which gives you an idea of this is the corner of Speedway and Euclid. And again, part of the slope thing is you can kind of see we've doing a finished floor, doing steps and figuring out the ADA access, all sorts of elements we had to address. But you can see kind of the raised planter treatment on the townhomes, more of that. And then as it turns the corner, again, this has sort of like commercial kind of a feel to it, even though it gets lobby amenity space, true commercial. And then the building steps back from the corner, which was a design request of the neighborhood. And then again, trying to break those masses up with the use of colors, window fenestrations. And then we get into kind of what those townhouses start to be. So they're again contemporary, but that's that second story height element kind of plays off the height of the homes across the way. Obviously these, with the nice thing about the grade 2 is it gives us an opportunity to kind of go public space with the sidewalk, semi-private space with kind of a stoop step up kind of element to it, where we can do some planters and privatize, and then up into the units themselves. And this is actually the main entry on the Speedway. I'm sorry, so this is the Speedway frontage again. There we go. That's so this is my a little closer into what that townhouse elevation starts to do. Again, you can see the planters and the stuff building, and then our little house over there, and then the corner here. The one thing is, I think we were all kind of joking with West University, but I think our renderer got the scale wrong on the umbrellas, so try to ignore that. But the idea was again to kind of show the intent is to really hardscape and landscape around these structures in a way that makes them, semi-porous and open kind of gathering spaces, kind of feel neighborhoodish. And then again, transition to those townhomes. Some of the discussion we had and we're looking at is kind of the rear end of this building here, and this is where this is where that step back is in the building. Again, it's kind of hard to see in the render because of the angle. But one of the comments related to kind of is there something we can do with the kind of this portion of that structure to kind of frame those a little differently. So Jason's looking at that, see if there's some options, or again open to suggestions. And then this gives you an idea of kind of that as you go up towards those townhomes, planters and the transition space. So those are the kind of where the renders have gone. And then materiality, we're waiting on our materials board, but we can talk about that. Got a sheet study we're working on. And then I have the technical landscape plans if anybody speak to those a little bit. I don't think this version, the version that we've got here doesn't have the final for the hardscape around the homes yet. But we're working on that. So and that's pretty much it for now. So I'm gonna go back over to my monitors, and then I'll be happy to take any questions or suggestions, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, who would like to start with some comments and questions?
Thank you for the presentation. I just have a few. And I was trying to remember back when we first reviewed this. Seems like a very long time ago, even before you talked about it. What?
I think it was it last summer?
Was it last? Well, I was thinking I was trying to remember, there was a massing diagram. And is this a pad?
No, Stan, it's a through the main gate overlay, so not a pad.
Main gate, okay.
Yeah, we amended the main gate, and the massing you see here reflects the massing diagrams that we had worked out with everybody as far as creating some transitional step backs to the structure.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I remember going through that process, but I didn't see that in this presentation. So just like, just proving like, yeah, we did this process, we followed it, and here is where we ended up. But that's just what I was trying to confirm or look for. What else? Oh, and then my other question is, of course, the one blank sheet you had was about material, and I mean, you're still thinking through all that. There was a rendering, not this sheet, but another one. It looked like the windows were even like 4 to 6 inches back, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's that. It looks very masonry-like. Is that kind of the detailing intent? I mean, maybe even if it's not masonry, what are you guys thinking?
Jason, do you mind walking everybody through kind of what we're
Sure.
trying to accomplish here with, obviously not going full brick, but what you're
Yeah.
trying-
Yeah, not a problem. Great questions. The renderings intents are to be a little more illustrative as we work through the development of the materials. The large kind of red area you see is stucco. It's an EFA system. The gray is a cementitious panel and then we'll have some metal panel infills and stucco infills as well.
Okay, and the windows?
Windows
Aluminum?
are currently fiberglass in the estimate.
Oh, okay. It has, I mean, I just am appreciating and the deep reveal of the window. It has a very masonry kind of feel and look, which is, I think, kind of exciting just architecturally. But anyways, it seems in line with the other precedent set on Speedway. I definitely appreciate the corner approach too. Is that like you said that was commercial or retail or?
It's supposed to read commercial during the entitlement process. The consensus we heard from the community was we prefer saying it looks commercial, but actually is not commercial. So we do not have any tenants in there. It'll be some of the amenity elements.
Like a leasing center.
Leasing center, gym, could be study space, that kind of co-office-y kind of space that that students like to use. So programming is still in process, but it'll be active, but not like a Starbucks or anything like that.
Oh, okay, and then kind of those two levels on Speedway, that's just more of the same. It is residential units.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. No, that was all. That's all I have at the moment. Thank you guys.
Okay, thank you, Savannah. Who's next?
I have a couple comments. So and I don't know if it's just the angle, because the angle we're looking at for the houses, the two remaining houses, it looks so tall behind them that it very much feels like the up house. Like it's surrounded. I do appreciate the lighter colors than what already kind of exists in that area, because it looks very industrial with all of the hubs that are there. So I like this kind of return to the more natural colors or the lighter grays rather than these really dark grays that are taking over that corner right now. I think those are the main ones. I kind of like the funky home color. That's the color it is right now, that blue.
That blue, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I know that's like technically not us, but I kind of like that it's that color.
We were very open on the color, so
Yeah.
I have a question. So in looking at so when I look at the white portion of the buildings, your windows all seem to be quite uniform. When I look at your tan portion, it looks like the windows are recessed and there's like one side that kind of slopes down. Can you speak to why those are not uniform, why they are all kind of like zigzaggy look? I know, and I've just heard this from hearsay, because I wasn't here, but one of those other dormy buildings back there has windows that are offset. And apparently that's not how the design was originally conveyed, and so when they were offset, when it was built, the community had a conniption. I'm just saying that's what I heard through the grapevine. So I'm just curious why these are all like staggered like that.
Sure. Good question. This has two architectural concepts that's relating to. The dark brown one with the zigzaggy windows is relating to the local landscape of the mountains adjacent to kind of to the west there. And then the white portion has more of a rigorous, which is more of an ode to kind of your downtown, more kind of turn of the century building, so it has more of a kind of a stacked window treatment. So it's
So brown would be the more organic intent, and the white would be a more structural.
And was it presented like this to the community, and did they have any comments on it?
I don't recall any specific comments on the windows.
The zigzag windows like that are not reading as mountains. I know that's the intention there, but like that's not.
Organic, I think was the
Yeah.
right thing I would use.
I think it looks intentional and kind of funky, right? Like I think the one that you're referencing, Jody, it looked like a mistake. And so maybe people are like, it didn't. It wasn't, this looks like with a controlled hand and eye, that one was not.
Okay, these are all just offset. I don't know if you guys know which building I'm talking
I'm
about.
gonna notice it now when I drive past.
It's
Now that
like,
you pointed
it's
it
like
out.
Never miss it now.
Yeah.
it's like one street over, and I just heard that like people had a conniption because that's not how it was originally presented to them.
Yeah. Oh, the step out and where the townhomes are at, how far out is that step down? It doesn't look like it's particularly a large.
It's not massive. Jason, what's the dimension on that?
You have to give me a sec.
And the part of the reasons we only have so much lot, so I know we had a lot of discussion about that one. And actually the overlay, the original stuff that was in there was fairly limited as well. I also recognizing the shelves a lot. So we're trying to kind of accomplish that, trying to emphasize color and that little bit of material to live there to give it some.
Related to that, do you have any renderings that show more what's going on when it turns around on the south side? Like, are there windows there, or how far does it project the same amount as in front, or what's going on?
So this will be the garage, so there'll be windows into this
Okay.
elevation,
So
that elevation.
does it go all the way back or partway?
And then we'll go back to about kind of where that, it's kind of again hard to see, but that's where that drop down is, so that second floor goes up.
Okay.
And then, and that'll be garage as well, so I don't think, Jason, in that spot, kind of where my hand is, where the drop down is, there's no windows in that element that makes the.
Kind of just a gray facade thing going, is it projecting out still from the white part?
And then Jason, on the second question was related to this, so we have the projection here, is this where the garage and the building meet? Is there any sort of a step down there, or is that just a
That's all, yeah, that's on the same plane, but there's units in there.
Okay,
Yeah, so you have units coming down that are next to the historical homes.
so the new part, we do have units that come down here, so
So
there's.
do you have windows in the upper part?
Yeah, yes, we do. We have windows that are in similar treatment to the ones on Euclid. And then we do have an egress stair that pops out that kind of accesses and brings you out to Euclid from there as well.
Okay.
So there's no direct relationship from the historical homes to a garage. So you always have units behind there.
Got it.
So, as part of their formal review, I have asked for them to have elevations of those two sides back there.
So it's visible, sure.
So you understand what's going on back there. Are you gonna have, so it sounds like you're gonna have windows and stuff down there in between the historic house and the new construction. That seems like a hot little alley. Are you gonna do any kind of? Huh? I mean, no, really think about it, like, it's concrete on both sides.
Hot.
What the heck did you guys think I said? I said hot.
We were just all
We're trying to
going different places, all right,
Wow,
so.
you're in the same room with me too. No, it just seems like, are you doing anything to like cool that or the area behind the houses?
Yeah.
Cause that, it's just gonna be like a heat sink.
Do those houses stay as residential?
Currently they
Yes.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be a residential or amenity, but currently they're being deemed as residential. They'll be part of this project.
Yeah.
So we're working on the landscape plan that'll be in here.
How wide's
Oh,
that?
there we go.
Sidewalk area between
So Jason, what kind of Yeah, sort of, width is that's another.
Hold on. Let's get to the drawings. Currently though, in the landscape plan, we do have an amenity area on the smaller house, a little blue house. There's a patio back there with cafe lights, so it'll be treated as an amenity. We have it's 7 feet from the property line. Let me get the right scale here. 3 seconds.
Did you say the south one there is a cafe?
No, cafe lights will be up above,
Oh.
so it's a place for people to hang out. Come on.
You're hanging out outside my bedroom.
Currently it's 11 feet to the face of the house for the bigger house. Oh, that dimension?
Yeah, between the house and the apartments or whatever. The new and old construction.
So we're 10'7" for a knoll is,
Okay.
You should
and then 11 feet on the other side.
Is the invisible lot line halfway between that? So openings are unlimited?
Correct. We have 7 feet to the property line from the face of the building on the ground floor. And what do we got there? We got 5, 4, 6 on the other side.
So, Jason, we didn't hear one of Joey's comments was relating to having our landscape folks and you as well look at just thinking about how to keep that some cooling in there, either vegetative, mechanical shade, etc. Because to the point you've got the kind of the building set. Can't see me, but the building set doing this, and then the heat gain that you might area. So something to think about as we get into the final landscape plan.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
that's
great.
facing south and west, so you're getting the best of both worlds. And it's just gonna sink down into those areas and be yucky,
A little.
a hot alley.
Well, see, I thought you meant it was just gonna be like this area where people were gonna hang out.
Like
or
pop-ins.
transit.
That's what you guys thought all the time, I know.
We don't know the
Basically hot location, okay.
I'm just totally with, so yeah, I'm just thinking of the heat.
Microclimate.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, that's good. Definitely can do that.
Are you, will you be impacting any of because of the proximity to the new construction, will you have to impact any of the eaves?
No, we will not.
You won't have to like fire rate them or anything?
Not currently. We haven't found any reasons code wise to address that.
And it'll all be one parcel, so the parcel line issue,
Okay.
it's just really just the building separation stuff.
Okay.
All adjacent buildings.
While we're on this sheet, I had a question on, is the underground parking on, it looks like it's going under these 2 bungalows, is that correct?
That is incorrect.
Okay, didn't know.
Yeah, the dark line that is kind of right by the 10 and 12. That's where the parking starts.
Got you, okay, I think there was like a basement plan that it looked like it went under, but
Yeah.
I misread. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that might be. Yeah, all these.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
so,
Yeah, right there. That little notch has been removed to stack all the way up due to the same reason you're probably bringing it up.
Okay, all right.
We're done moving houses.
Yeah.
Excuse me, thank you.
I do have some architectural or landscape comments unless anyone else had anything.
Go ahead.
So in general, I like it. I think the architecture is pretty solid. I like the windows that Savannah mentioned too. The kind of faceted, recessed windows. I can see they do kind of read like canyon-like or like rock sculptural, so I see your inspiration there, for sure. The I think the scale is, you know, just it is what it is, but that rendering that shows the bungalows and then, you know, the big towering building behind it, it does feel like you're kind of in a canyon or something there. But I think that's just, you know, there's not much we can do in terms of scale. One thing I did notice on this elevation, all along Euclid, I think you guys have a really nice landscape buffer and transition setup, and then that kind of goes away here. I'm wondering if, you know, maybe you would explore some sort of buffer there so that it doesn't feel like the front yard of these homes just like steps out into traffic, and maybe you know, would create a little more hospitable place where you might actually put seating and chairs. But that was my immediate reaction. It feels like it just kind of spills right out into the street. The other comment I had, we talked about masonry, but right now you guys are just proposing ethos and then the cement cladding. You know, there may be an opportunity to introduce some masonry, maybe low, not like maybe a traditional wainscot, but something that would kind of help break that massing down just a little bit at the ground level. The bungalows and how they're, you know, built up on these masonry stem walls.
Yeah.
Our
intent was to have the planters that you see right there. Those are masonry. That's a nod to the masonry treatments that we see in the neighborhood on the base.
Yeah, I like that. I think if you could maybe continue or some form of that treatment, you know, in front of the bungalows, I think that would help a lot.
Okay.
But other than that, I really like it. I think it's a nice looking building. Certainly a lot more intentional than many of its neighbors. So nice job.
Great. Thank you.
No, you didn't see it when it first came through. It did look like its neighbors, as I appreciate getting to see it like this now.
Noel, can you, kind of speaking about the landscaping in the front, I seem to recall that you had to actually increase the size of the turn lane there, right? So you lost some land, right?
Yeah, so we have, that's a good point, Jody. So we actually have, actually I think it's just the same.
Which, as a driver on Euclid, I appreciate that you have to increase the turn lane, but
yeah, so
you do lose some land.
Yeah, so part of the challenge with this site was everyone knows the current kind of actually, if I can see right there, the stubby version of a turn lane, which meets absolutely no modern code. That gets fixed by this project, and what happens is what you end up with is a tape. This is kind of where it is today, and then this taper. So to bring this taper down, and then the taper has to offset to narrow down, because once you hit the Udall property, we need to bring it back in at that point. So this area here, this curb line work all gets done. And to the comment about the kind of a way to I think help with the front of these a bit would be looking at detaching that sidewalk and maybe, you know, formalizing a little bit more with the new building. I think the intent was kind of how much this can we leave as is. But after looking at that, I do kind of understand that comment. So I think as we get into the landscape hardscape plan in front of those houses, you know, detached condition I think would be consistent with what we see in the neighborhood. So it would be a massive shift.
There is also a historic light pole that they will be reinstalling, even though it doesn't show up on their renderings, it's there.
It does exist.
It's just being moved.
Yeah,
It's
we'll move it in. And Chuck and Tree at Rick Engineering have that on their list, very specific items on the civil plan. We'll make sure that's accommodated.
I think to Andrew's comment about the landscaping along the bungalows, I mean, I agree that it would be nice to continue something in a way. It seems like maybe we're trying to distinguish those houses, and I appreciate that, but something that still provides some amenity and softening would be nice. And I agree with West University that if there's anything you can do behind the bungalows to at least bring down the appearance of scale and massing and have some differentiation. And the other question I had was you had, Charlie, you just showed a lot of examples from the neighborhood that you were taking ideas from in terms of the materials and what you were doing. And you talked about stucco to be brick-like, and I just wondered what you're thinking in terms of what you really are taking from the neighborhood in terms of architecturally with materials and design, because it's at least on its face not really apparent.
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. Again, it's always challenges, you all know.
Sure.
And I'll let Jason address it a little bit, but one of the things with stucco, as you can see, is we got a lot of stucco around. So it's we're actually kind of lucky in that sense that we do. And then as you turn Speedway to it gets out of the neighborhood, but there is that kind of modern character. So it's kind of how do we stick these two together? So Jason, I don't know if you have some other things to add to that as well as far as
I think obviously that we have a smooth trial EFA system right now considered on it, but actually on the interior kind of facets that everybody's kind of been looking at, we're changing the stucco appearance. So we're really trying to play on the different types of stucco in one field plane, but really relating back to the kind of the smooth trial stucco throughout the neighborhood. That's kind of our approach to this, not to be too different.
When you were talking about the masonry work for the planters, so like in here they're smooth. Are you gonna have like some sort of design? I don't know, I'm thinking of the chimney that got removed on the house that got moved to Joel's property. And also there's a lot of those walls that exist on campus that look like they have the lava rock from the mines.
Yeah, we can definitely take that in consideration.
Actually, yeah, and actually, Jason, I'll send you an image of the one that the streetcar goes down the same street as
Second.
and it's got that low wall.
Yeah.
And I think scale wise, I'd love to look at the number on it, maybe in the ballpark there. Maybe there's a way to just kind of play off those a little bit. Maybe just introduce that for the townhomes. And then that could be a transitional material.
On the white portion of the building, it looks like that parapet cap is proud of the building quite a bit. And I do like the shadow line that casts. Is that intentional, or is that like an artifact of the rendering?
No, it's intentional in this rendering.
Okay. I mean, I do like that, and I think very abstractly that relates a bit to the deep overhangs of a lot of the craftsman style homes. So, I think, I hope that's not a value engineering target at some point, but I like the shadow that it creates, and I think it helps with the scale. It kind of caps that building nicely.
It's in our name.
Okay. Anything else from any of the group?
Thanks very much.
Well, appreciate everybody's comments. It was very, very helpful. Been taking diligent notes. Frank, that's why Sarah's on. So Sarah, you got everything, I hope, because Jason's got a little bit of work to do, but
Hey, yeah, I got everything.
excellent.
Yeah. No, ask what your next steps are. Are you going to continue to develop this and come back for another courtesy, or are you will the next step be your formal submittal?
Yeah, we'd like to actually go ahead and move right into our formal submittal. I think we got clear direction from West University and y'all today that I think we can bring back something I think we can work with. Hopefully get that support recommendation. And then
Are you scheduled to do also a courtesy review with one of the Ds? DRB, DRC?
You know, that's a good question. I've gotten the two different discussions on it, so I think we need to have the sidebar.
Okay.
So, yeah, so ideally, be back, you know, not to tell you enough to do, but hopefully be back here next month with the month after, depending on how fast my team can draw. So we'd like to be back quickly. Well, one drawback to student housing projects, you definitely have a hard opening day. You miss August, it's another year. So unlike a normal apartment where I can, if you're a month off, you're a month off, but students for some reason all rent in August. I don't know why. Oh, that's the other nice thing too, is I do like to have the conversation continue for that exact reason, because then it's kind of fresh in the mind versus we go away for 6 months. So, great.
Okay, well, thank you again very much, and we'll go ahead then and move on to item 3C. And that is 1030 North Euclid Avenue, case TC-DMO-0624-00121. It's for demolition of a rear addition. This is a full review in the West University Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource, and we use the rehabilitation standards. Now, Jody, do you have any background?
Yes, this project was also heard at the July 16th West University Historic Zone Advisory Board. And pretty simple, they recommended approval of the demolition of the rear addition, and it was approved unanimously. And you're still going so you can share.
I'm trying to. No, it's doing here. It's stuck. There we go. Ah, there we go. All right. Great. Yeah, this would be a very similar slide to a conversation a few minutes ago. And this is the 1030 house. So what it is that rear portion, there's a detached outbuilding. It's integrated into the roof, but it's actually a freestanding little structure. And it is, I'll get to the fun stuff. So what we did is had Roger, who's on with us, did his report, which you should have. I won't bore everybody with it. The conclusion was it's not contributing. And although it's a well-written report, Roger, so not to skip over it, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to revisit it. But basically, it's 262 square feet in the back. It's detached off the back, and we'll show the photos here. So what we would like to do is remove that since it's in the way of some other stuff we're doing. And we have a rehabilitation plan, which on this one is actually fairly simple because they didn't connect it to the house. I don't have to worry about the back. So really the issue came up was just dealing with the detail in here. So we obviously have the design team come up with kind of some instructions to the contractor, but essentially we're going to take the thing off and then repair any damage there is to that existing roof line. With both of the homes, this one and 1024, we'll be coming back with our rehab plans. This is also starting to kind of address that as far as window schedules, etc., and obviously color. So all the roofs generally on these will be redone. So as part of that, we'll make the cure to any of the damage that's there from that little addition they did. And I've got, if he's interested, photographs of it. You can clearly see the absolute quality of the construction. Really, very obviously not from that era. And then the detached nature of it, you can see clearly here how the two kind of interplayed. And what they did is they kind of put a little soffit in here to kind of keep the birds out. But you'll notice that the roof vents stop. So you have this guy's most likely when we open this up, probably all there. They just most likely connected to it. So hopefully it'll be a fairly easy cleanup, but if not real hard to replicate because it's just roof decking and shingles. So that would be our rehab plan. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, who'd like to begin?
I just have one quick question looking at it now, and that's whether that wall that's right there enclosing between the gap area, is that coming out?
That'd be removed as well, yeah.
Is that touching the house?
I
think it's attached.
Is it attached?
Oh, it's attached.
Yeah, it looks attached there. Yeah, it looks like it's a little U-shaped. sort of pony wall. So they were using to kind of enclose that space off.
To keep other people using their washing machine.
Well, you know, it's
Yeah.
you can understand we've had a little bit of a trespassing problem as these are set vacant, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like it's just where it connects, it's just a little bit of stuff.
Okay, other questions?
Yeah, I
Go
have a
ahead.
question. Does it looks like a masonry site wall that all stays, right? Or no? Right, like you can see it on the right middle image. There's some piers, like maybe that was the entry. Is that
Here,
Yeah, right there.
that is off the south end.
Well, yeah,
South,
I was
yeah,
asking about this
sorry.
one, but I guess
East.
it's on both. Is it on the north and the south?
Yeah, is that?
That's north.
So that would be, yeah, so that's off the, that looks like that's off the east elevation, no, north, that'd be the north elevation, because you got the building, yeah, the building behind. So that'd be the north elevation.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that looks,
If you look at
yeah, I was looking
the
for,
plan, it shows. that
yeah,
it's-
let me show us. Let's see, so that would probably be, oh, I
It's
see.
on this one.
Yeah, it's, yeah, you can see that, yeah, it's actually, yeah, it looks like a little enclosure of the, like they made a little yard kind of enclosure here. So that would be rethought as we did the hardscape plan for the new buildings, that would be, yeah, and I suspect it was probably done when they closed that area.
I couldn't understand here. Is that?
Oh, sorry, that wall is about, kind of, it's a little hidden by the tree here, but if you can see my mouse there. It's like a little pony wall that kind of enclosed a little space around here. So that would come down as part of the rethinking of the hardscape and lawn yards area for this building when the new build comes up.
And that was built when the addition went on?
I would suspect so, given the angles of it.
So it's connected to the addition.
Okay. And the garage, is that?
The garage is a non-contributing element.
Okay, other questions? Jan, did you have anything?
No, I think I already.
Oh, okay, everyone weighed in, okay. Are we ready for a motion?
It's just to approve, right? Yeah, like we don't, yeah.
Yeah, we'll fix the roof to plan.
I
Right.
can make that motion.
Go ahead.
On the matter of TC-DMO-0624-00121, 1030 North Euclid Avenue, move to approve demo as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, is there further discussion? Okay, if not, I will call roll. Terry votes aye. Ricky,
Aye.
Jan,
I,
Savannah,
Aye.
Andrew. Okay, that should be 5-0 to approve unanimously. Okay, thank you.
Do you guys have a date that you're moving or you start moving the bungalows that are already
That's
picked
good
up?
that someone ask. So aiming, and again, I don't want to jinx us, but if everything continues as well, they're trying to do it Sunday night. So
Ooh,
it's actually Monday morning, Sunday night. So if you think about early Monday morning, so
What time are you shooting for?
I think they plan the closure at like midnight and then they start doing their thing. The house will basically move at about 2 miles an hour, so you got a picture kind of a slow crawl down the street. If anyone wants to stick their head out and see what it looks like as it's on wheels, it's got a way to go down Seaway and then down Second, so it'll be a couple hours of moving, but.
so all of them one night?
Oh, no, it's gonna be one at a time. So it's essentially, the way it ends up happening is, because most of them are all sharing the same site, the first foundation gets constructed bring in the house, get him set, and then you build the next foundation, and then bring it and so on. So hopefully, if everything goes well, ideally, they'd like to do one a week, but depending on the foundation curing, sometimes, but it's been so hot, we should be okay. And then, so hopefully it'll just be, for the next 5 weeks, go out there and watch a house go down. So,
It'll always be Sunday that you'll be doing it. If you
yeah, and that's actually because of the city, for the traffic control, because Speedway is such a major arterial.
Yeah.
And then the balancing act too of, the school starting, everything else, so it's the logistic, that's why I don't wanna jinx it, because it's the city has told us, hey, if we need to tell you to wait, we can tell you to wait, but generally that time is quiet, so hopefully that'll be the case. So yeah, it should be pretty neat, and the placement, everything, the design, all that's gone well as far as the work that they needed to do, so hopefully there'll be a pretty easy set, and then we'll get them out of the way and then start getting them all cleaned up and messy up. Should be nice.
Well, no, I hope you take some pictures of them moving. It's quite the thing.
Yep, it's gonna be pretty impressive. For me, 5.5 years later to see them move, I'm very excited, so.
I imagine so.
Yeah, I can't express enough our appreciation. Everybody's been really great to work with in this project and process, and so hopefully we'll come out here with a nice, exciting new build. We'll get that done, and everybody can drive by the cute little houses and and enjoy the new. So it's all the way around a good thing.
Oh, great. Well, thank you. We're gonna have to move ahead because we still have lots more to do here. So thank you again, and we'll move on to item 4, which is update on the ADU code amendment. 4A is discussion on upcoming changes to local regulations for accessory dwelling units, ADUs, based on House Bill HB 2720. So Jody, are you gonna update us on this?
I'm gonna pass it over to Dan. Dan, you're muted. I'll share, I'll make you a co-host so you can share your screen if you need to. But Dan is gonna do the update.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Jody. Appreciate it. Thank you, Terry. Let's see. I will see if this works. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So we've actually just had a couple public meetings over the last few days related to this, going out and getting feedback from the community on really the kind of what our path forward is on the state legislation related to ADUs and what we have in front of us. So just to kind of put this in the framework of kind of what's going on, at state level, state legislature has been looking at ways to try to relieve some of the kind of housing affordability kind of pressures that are going on right now. So they have had several bills to try to increase just in general housing supply in the state of Arizona. Those 4 main bills that came out of that was one related to accessory dwelling units. This is the one I'm talking about here. It's 2720. There was another one related to adaptive reuse and allowing for multifamily housing in commercial districts. There was one related to timelines for zoning applications. You have to have a rezoning application completed within 180 days. And then a final one, which is the middle housing bill. The first 3 on here we have to address within our zoning code by January 1st, 2025. The middle housing has a longer timeline. It's generally more complex. So that one is on a different timeline than the first 3. So what we're looking at here related to ADUs is House Bill 2720. This establishes state standards for ADUs that we have to comply with by January 1st. It's for municipalities in the state that are 75,000 people or more. Interestingly enough, I think like Marana's like 73,000 people right now. So they may have to comply if they continue to grow, and I think they probably will. So in the next year or so, they may have to actually go through and change their zoning code to address this as well, even though they don't have to currently. So the new state ordinance requires modifications to our existing standards because we're kind of ahead of most of the other parts of the state. We already have standards related to accessory dwelling units, some don't. But in general, they are less restrictive. And we can't be more restrictive than what the state says. So we have to go through and make changes by January 1st related to this. We did have a study session with our mayor and council on June 18th, 2024, just to kind of give them an update. Went over these 4 bills. They told us to really, go get some community input and get this done, before the end of the year. Because it's a change to our zoning code, there are formal processes related to this. So just a simple zoning code change generally takes 4 months. That's the reason why we kind of jumped on it. We're going pretty quickly on this. So the first difference really within the state bill and our bill and what we have in our zoning code is really just even the definition of ADUs. Pretty similar, but I think the most important thing here is that with the state, when they defined this, it said it may include its own kitchen facilities. And for us, the kitchen was really how we knew it was a dwelling versus a sleeping quarters. So we're currently working with both this other municipalities in the state to interpret this. If we need to consider sleeping quarters an ADU now, the implications of this really come down to impact fees. Sleeping quarters don't trigger impact fees, yet ADUs do. So it could result in a bit of a bump in just the cost to be able to develop an ADU or sleeping quarters. So that would be a smaller unit without a full kitchen, but with like a kitchenette or something of that sort. So this right here is basically our current standards for ADUs. These were passed back in January 2022. We had a year-long process. We had 10 plus stakeholder, we had a stakeholder group that kind of helped guide it. 10 plus meetings related to that. We had public meetings. And then ultimately, it was adopted by mayor and council with these standards. So as is, you can do 1 ADU on any residential lot. That is a 1 or 2 homes on there. So a duplex, you could also have an ADU on it. The size that we ended up with was 10% of the lot size. So 10,000 square foot lot, do 1,000 square foot ADU, maximum size 1,000 feet. However, any ADU could be allowed at least a 650 square foot lot or square foot ADU. So it has that kind of floor of 650 square feet. Building height can be allowed up to 12 feet high, or if the primary residence is 2 stories or higher, this is kind of convoluted a little bit. The height of the primary structure, you can go up to that. So 2-story building, that's maybe 20 feet. You could go 20 feet with your ADU. All the other dimensional standards kind of still apply, setbacks, lot coverages. We did require a parking space, but there are waivers if you're close to transit, like Boulevard, you can use on-street parking for that as well. And then one of the things that was concerned about urban heat island effect, we also have a requirement for cool roofs for those ADUs, for the new ADUs that get developed. So on the left are our standards. On the right are the regulations per House Bill 2720. Again, 1 residential, 1 per lot is what we currently allow. The new bill would allow for 2 per lot. It is specified you could have 1 attached and 1 detached. You can potentially have a 3rd ADU if you have a lot that's over 1 acre, and it has to be for restricted affordable housing, which would be either deed restricted or through municipality or something of that sort for 80% area median income. Second one is related to size. Our size calculations are different from how they do it at the state level. We do it based on lot size. They do it based on the primary structure. So we will likely be changing that to match what the state sets out. So that is 75% of the size of the primary structure. And then that's up to 1,000 square feet. So we had a 1,000 foot top end, they do 2. Building height, we had that limit that was 12 feet, or if you have a 2-story principal structure, you can go up to the principal structure. This basically says you have to allow for the building height that's allowed within that zone. So generally it's 25 feet throughout the city is what zones normally allow. Parking, we can't allow for any parking, it basically said, so we have to get rid of our parking requirements. Building frontage, this is an interesting one. So as it is now, accessory dwelling units are not permitted in front yards. However, there is a standard in there that basically says that ADUs have to have the same building frontage as the single family homes. So if there is a situation, and I don't know how many there are of these, where there is a house that is set back significantly more than the houses around it, they could potentially build an ADU in the front with those prevailing single family home setbacks. Not a very common situation, but something they could potentially do. You still have to adhere to the existing setbacks, so like 20 feet in most areas, or the historic prevailing setbacks that you have of like your historic district or something of that sort. And then other setbacks on lot, currently it's 6 feet or 2/3 the height of the structure. State law says that you have basically can only do 5 minimum, minimum, yeah, minimum, yeah, minimum of 5 feet from the property line. So 5-foot setbacks would be the new standard coming out of that bill. So that's the changes that really the most significant stuff coming out of this. There are some other things related to the bill. CC&Rs, covenants, conditions, and restrictions are private agreements, and the city doesn't administer or enforce those, and the state bill does not supersede those. So you could those still apply. So if an HOA decided to go through and add in restrictions on accessory dwelling units to say maybe we only want one, then they could potentially go ahead and do so. Short-term rentals, there's a weird carve out that is like one of the only things that the state allows us to do for short-term rentals in this. However, it's really intended for municipalities that have not passed ADU laws yet. So while it allows for us to do this, it's so limited, it doesn't really, I don't think it would have any impact. There's like 3 reasons for that. So one is that the regulations would only become effective as the date of adoption. So anybody that currently has the rights to build an ADU right now, this would not apply to, or anybody that has built an ADU, it would not apply to. Second one is that there's a grace period of 3 years before the enforcement could even be required. So, so basically this is based off the Prop 207 stuff. They drafted that in there, said it has to adhere to this. So you have a 3-year grace period. Then on top of that, the regulations would only apply after a change of ownership. So maybe in 3 years, if you applied something here, maybe in 3 years, if someone had sold their property to a new property owner, that you could maybe enforce the short-term rental requirement, which is only basically that one person has to live on site. So it's, again, so limited and would be very, very difficult to enforce. I think it was really intended for communities that don't currently have ADU allowed in their code, but that's kind of what they gave us for short-term rentals. Historic preservation. So historic review would still be required for ADUs within an HPZ or historic landmark. And in addition to this, the NPZs would also still remain for the review. There are some stipulations within the bill that might limit that review. One of which is that it says in there, the ADU cannot be required to match the exterior design, roof pitch, or finishing materials of the primary single family dwelling. So I think the way we're interpreting that is that you can't force them to make a mini version of the primary structure, which is not really what we do anyways. So, but there are some small limitations potentially on that if you're like, you have to match exactly, the roof pitch and that type of thing of the principal structure. You can do it of the development zone, not necessarily the principal structure. So I think while the HPC design standards, all of them pretty much apply, there might be some small limitations related to this. The other one that I see potentially related to this is building height, to where it says that basically you can't have different standards from the primary structure versus the accessory structure. And if you're in the development zone and you're using other accessory structures as your building height, you probably would need to actually incorporate single family structures as well, because that's what you would normally have to look at for the standards for single family structures. Again, it gets a little complicated, but at the very least, it still allows for HPZs, it allows for HPC review. A little bit about National Historic Register historic districts. As you all know, they're not regulated and aren't required that new development comply with any design standards for this. And we do suggest that homeowners that are within those are encouraged to consult with the SHPO just to make sure that new developments, especially ADUs, are not changing their contributing status for that. So that's the bill that we have in front of us. It's kind of interesting in its sense. And these are the proposed changes that we're looking at for this. So first is we need to address any inconsistencies with the ADU definition. We're still working with legal on that one, on whether or not we're going to have to kind of combine the sleeping quarters and ADUs. Increase the maximum number of ADUs allowed per lot. One thing that we brought this up in some of our meetings, is that it currently allows for 2 ADUs, and we have to allow for 2 ADUs. It says 1 attached and 1 detached. One thing we're putting out there for discussion is, would it just make sense to allow for 2 detached instead of 1 attached and 1 detached? I think this could come down to potentially, if you have an attached structure, it could potentially delist a contributing property. Yet if you allow for 2 detached, it might allow for another option where you wouldn't actually do that. Change the way maximum square footage is calculated. So again, we go to the 75% of the primary structure. One thing we are looking to do is retaining that minimum of 650 square feet. We did a whole design competition. We have a model plan library, a lot of them designed to that minimum amount so people could use it. So we are looking to potentially keep that 650 square foot minimum. Some other ones, we're going to have to update the building height. Obviously setbacks for 5 feet from side and rear, remove the parking requirements, and then again, just address the issue with the ADUs being allowed anywhere on the lot, as it restricts us from having different front yard frontages for ADUs. So with that, and this is kind of where we're at because we're trying to get this done by the end of the year. There's a 30-day appeal period on anything that's adopted by mayor and council. So that pushes us back to at least November. And then in order to build in a little bit of flexibility for this, in case there's a quorum issue or something, we are planning on going to a study session with Planning Commission on August 14th, September for a public hearing, and then mayor and council in October for this. So just to let you all know, the consequence of not adopting something by January 1st, 2025 is that ADUs would be allowed anywhere in the city with no restrictions. So you could have any number of them. It can apparently be very tall, very big, no setbacks, etc. So something we don't really want to see what that would end up looking like. Anyways, very happy to answer any questions related to this. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
I had sent you something in the chat. I wonder if you could provide a copy of your presentation to Jody for her to share with us.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
That would be great. And then I wanted to ask, is this the same presentation you're going to give to the full commission in August?
Yeah, it'll be similar. I think we're going to have a full proposal by then. Like right now, we're just kind of finalizing as far as the changes in text. So it'll be a little more detailed, but it'll be very similar to this.
Okay. Because I mean, they might not be into some of the same nuances that PRS is, and that's why we have the PRS subcommittee to kind of look at things. But there are members that are very interested that aren't on PRS. So Jody, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just gonna add to this a little bit, now that because we've had our ADU law or ADU ordinance around for a while. And just to clarify kind of some things that happen on the city side, we do have some properties that sit kind of towards the rear of the lot. I would say the bulk of those are probably in Barrio Historico, and then we have some in Fort Lowell, because Fort Lowell has varying lot sizes, and then some of their properties kind of sit towards the back and some sit towards the front. So having an ADU in the front yard could actually happen there. In our current ordinance, we have a 12-foot, but in the HPZ, we had one recently proposed for Armory Park. And we took it to the city attorney because they were talking about, you know, waiving the height, which isn't actually something that you get to do. But it was based on the development zone, so they had other heights of other accessory units, rear yard detached units back there that exceeded the 12 height, so 12-foot height, so they were able to go higher than the 12 foot height based on their development zone, which is consistent with the review that you've always done based on the development zone for setbacks, for height, et cetera, like that. But I just wanted to kind of put those out there as how it now operates, and we've been dealing with it.
What happens in the case that somebody is proposing a front yard ADU and that starts to block the view of the contributing house? Like how are we supposed to rule with that?
So we actually had one recently that came forward in Barrio. We had one previously a couple of years ago where they were putting in an ADU and the front house was actually really small. So even though their ADU was in the back, it was bigger and kind of pulled around, you still had visibility. And then more recently, there was a courtesy review that Barrio had where their main house sat in the back and they had one proposed. So they were trying to like kind of angle it so it was a little bit more off the side. So there was still a view shed into the house. Yeah. It depends on how they design. I mean, everything's like basically how you design it.
Wow. Okay, questions?
I just have a comment. I think this is getting clearer. Thank you, Dan, with each retelling, because initially the company line and even in your public presentation, it started as, well, there's still a process. So and kind of downplaying that even though there is some discretion left and some attention to the overlay, kind of like, oh, well, it's like no difference. And so I appreciate that you're kind of stepping up to help us understand what the impact is and what we'll be having to balance. Yeah. And I was wondering if when you have the full proposal, if it can come back to us as well.
Yeah, most definitely. And I will say this, I mean, we're learning as well as we go about this. So we're part of a kind of a working group that's through the Arizona League of Towns and Cities. And we're working with other municipalities pretty much every other week to talk about these 4 bills, and especially the ADU bill, on really what was the intent. You can read things some ways and other ways. So again, a bit of this is kind of just evolving as we work through it. But I think we're definitely starting to get a better understanding of really, you know, what we're allowed to do within this and what, you know, we may not be.
I feel for you guys, and it's hard not to be a little cynical about the intent, but yeah.
Okay,
And
anyone else?
Yeah, the 5-foot minimum setback, would that apply to primaries as too? Or that would be for all residential zones?
No, it's really only applies to accessory dwelling units.
Okay, so the primaries are still 6 or 2/3 for the most
Yep.
part. Cool. All right.
Anyone else? Great, this was very helpful. Thanks, Dan.
Of course. Thanks, everyone.
Keep up on it.
Thanks.
Okay, let's move on to item 5, public and institutional use in a development zone discussion. 5A is discussion on the use of public and institutional buildings as comparative properties in development zones. Are we discussing this today or are we holding off on it?
Joel's not here.
Joel's not here.
Yeah, Joel's done.
I might have trouble with my attendance in fall. My class was scheduled at this time, so I would like to discuss it sometime soon.
Okay,
Yeah,
that was,
but we're gonna have a meeting where everybody's here. I'm not gonna be here in August for a meeting, and I'm not gonna be here for one in September.
That's me
well,
too.
I think we
so-
should probably start sharing those things. And I mean, you're critical, Savannah. I mean, we're all important to this group, so we have to see what, let's talk about it.
Should we, well, for homework on this, is it the material? I think we have kind of the backstory, right, from Jan and
Right,
everyone.
and that was sent out a while ago. Jan sent it to me, then it went to Jody, and I think that's what was shared with everyone, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really needs to be a time when Jan can present her concerns, I think.
And when we don't have quite as long a meeting.
Yeah, it's a long day, but I did want to ask because you're here, so
What
all right.
about the next?
I have no idea.
August, that's August, wait,
August 8th,
yeah, and you're not gonna be here.
I won't be here.
I'm just keeping it as a standing item so that like,
I think
No,
that's,
I want to talk about it. Maybe the 22nd then.
Yeah. So, all right. So then we'll just postpone this, and then same with 6A, task force and inclusivity, discussion on best practices for naming the city and county owned physical assets, postpone. Okay, let's move on to item 7, current issues for information discussion. 7A is minor reviews. Michael, is he here?
I'm here.
He's getting his notes.
it does happen.
No, it didn't.
It's one of them that started.
Yeah,
Okay,
they weren't ready.
from the last meeting till today, we did not have any minor review that we did, but we're supposed to do 2 of them this morning. One at 1:30 is Congress for Starbucks sign, and the other one for 82 Southstone Avenue. We had Ricky all hyped up and ready to go, but the contractors were not ready, so we will be looking at doing that inside next week. I will get the day ready and I will let Ricky know, they will set the day for next week for those 2 reviews for the site. I have many pending reviews coming up that I'm going to request for availability also for those. I have 502 East 4th Street for a door replacement in West University. I have 826 North 7th Avenue for a fence and gate, also in West University. I have 345 South 4th Avenue for solar panel in Emery Park. I have 5396 East Francisco Loop for solar panel in Fort Law. Those are the ones that I have pending now that I will need some volunteers to help us do that maybe next week or so.
Okay, and Michael, you'll reach out to people to see if they can volunteer?
I will, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks to everyone who responded to Michael's call for help this morning, even though it didn't come through, but it was great of everyone to volunteer. Many
Yes,
volunteers.
that's very much. And very interesting and important is we have a request for one of the minor reviews to become a full review. That review I mentioned to you last time, 350 South Convent, for a door replacement that was done without any review. We have done that minor review 2 times with Ricky and Grace from the barrio, and suddenly the applicant wants the review to be seen by the whole barrio board, PRS. So we'll be working on bringing that review.
Yeah, well, Grace and I had asked him to revise the door, what it looked like, because it's just it's not even solid metal, but it's a pretty thick metal rusted door, which is not standard in his developmental zone. So Grace and I asked him to redesign it, and he wants it sent to a full review instead.
Okay,
So,
Yes.
all right. Okay, anything else on this? Or we move on to 7B appeals, Michael?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, 7C zoning violations.
Like you did one of the cases today, you will be getting the 350 South Convent zoning violation case. We continue to work with Rick to get some of these cases resolved that may not come to you, but the ones that people are not willing to work with, we bring them to you as they come to you.
Okay. Item 7D, review process issues. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share?
Just that maybe the first case was a difficult one.
Yeah.
Because of the process, it seems like, but the applicant's willingness and open and good discussion, I think, helped.
Mm-hmm. I think maybe we should talk about why these have become much more problematic than they ever were in the past. And I don't know if that's how they're now submitting their plans to remedy these things. I don't know why, Jody, we're not more like open about these being zoning violations. They did something bad. Like why do we not list that?
Honestly, I'm slammed and bogged down at work, and I'm
So you
putting
forget.
together the agendas as quickly as I can, and I'm forgetting. It's not that I'm not trying to be honest and open, I'm
No,
just
I know.
forgetting to include it, and it's
we
my
mentioned
fault.
it. Yeah, but we mentioned a lot, and we do need to at some point ever had time to discuss it, how to make the review process better for these types of reviews. And we were lucky today, you're right, Cindy. We had somebody who was willing and knowledgeable and not defensive. So it was good.
I don't know where in the process stuff gets checked when it comes in, but even knowing if they're saying, well, this was done on a contributing resource, just knowing whether it was permitted or not. Because especially on the fly for us, trying to find it on the city website and hope you can find it is not always that easy for an outsider.
Well, I mean, Jody and Michael are pretty slammed, so it is a problem. I mean, just getting these cases. I mean, maybe that's something you could have the person that's helping you with the zoning violations do, Michael and Jody. Like check if these comps are really appropriate.
Because it ends up being faith-based, which if everybody is both a good actor and knowledgeable, it's not a problem, but sometimes you have one or both of the situation.
Right. Well, I think it's our job to vet that, to see if they're, but they clearly didn't even pay attention to the fact they were in a historic zone, right? I mean, they didn't. That's always fascinating to me. So, like how sometimes we've asked people, how long have you lived there? Oh, for 25 years. I'm like, okay, and you didn't know that where you lived. Anyway,
I was wondering too if there was like a way someone gets a violation, they're newly educated about what the historic district is and what it means for renovation, to get through a courtesy review first before they go and hire an architect and do the plans and all that kind of stuff, which is arduous for some homeowners. And then not everyone they hire knows what they're doing either. So I don't know. I know that everybody is busy, but having a chance to be like, this is what you should do, like maybe consider this, and then they go and prepare the drawings and understand, and then we see, a submittal, they go through that process and they're a submittal that's, approvable and then permittable, and it seems like it might go smoother if they have opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts? All right. Item 8 is summary of public comments. Were any comments received by the deadline, Jody?
I did not receive any comments.
Thank you. Okay, item 9 is future agenda items for upcoming meetings. What do you have for us?
I have potentially an IID project in the 4th Avenue commercial. A ADU, or kind of I guess it's an addition in Fort Lowell. And eventually somewhere down the line, I have a streetery being proposed. AKA an outdoor patio cafe. I
The
can't
best-
ever
the
spell
best
streamery,
term.
so I call it an outdoor patio cafe.
Jody, what's the IID on 4th?
It's the Hut. It's a
Oh,
305.
Okay. Okay,
there,
never mind.
Okay. All right, so who is going to be at the next meeting? I will be there. What about the rest of you?
I'll be there.
Ricky, no? You'll be
No.
there?
let's see, yeah, probably.
I'm
I'll
sorry,
be
so
there.
Jan, Savannah will be there, Jan is probable?
I'm juggling medical stuff.
Okay, Jan, possible, right, probable?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, and then I'll check with Joel. All right, sounds good. Thanks, everyone. It was a long meeting. We're adjourned at 3:31 PM. Thanks, everyone, for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Take care.
Terry.
You.
Bye, bye.
This is the whole.